is, what does literacy knowledge look like? I'm teaching gifted students. What does gifted knowledge and learning look like? A second aspect, do you want to say a different second part of the knowledge? Okay, someone else. You shouldn't sit close, guys, so I can see your names. But anyone, okay, a second sort of knowledge that I have as a teacher is what I know to be good literacy teaching options. In other words, what do I know to be good actions to take to change this? That's the second part, isn't it? I need to know what are good actions to take to change this. A third aspect of my knowledge as a literacy teacher is actually what I do. The literacy teaching actions I use. Is it possible for someone to have a whole lot of good teaching options but not do them? Yes, it is. It is very possible. We have all been in that situation again and again, where there are things that we know we could do. We can engage in fantastic dialogue about what could be done, but it doesn't happen. Now, obviously, for us, we are wanting to maximise this, the third one, because this is what will change students' knowledge. The actions I use as a teacher. All the wonderful things I've picked up at PDs, like this, won't change it. There are some other things, though, to do with my knowledge as a teacher of literacy. A fourth aspect of my knowledge is I'm putting a whole lot of things into one basket here, but I'm going to call it my emotional engagement as an educator. What would I put under that? I would put under that, what do I believe being an educator means? How do I see that morally, ethically? Well, if I in fact know that my children have poor literacy, and if I know that when they're in the world they won't be able to get information as well and handle it, is it my responsibility to do something about it? How does my ethical, moral aspects as an educator determine what I do? A second thing here is, what about my self-efficacy? It might be that I know all these wonderful things to do, but I don't do them because I don't believe that I can do them successfully, or that I haven't got time, or that it's not appropriate, or that the children don't deserve them, or that I'm getting close to 5411. Well, I'm fractionally past 5411, but there are a whole lot of reasons why people often don't engage emotionally. Of course, the people who I've got in this basket are the ones who hear you when you're talking with them. Say, this is wonderful, this is great, but will I do it? No. Are you all with me here? Yes. This is going to be a really important issue. It's not an issue for us today because you're all here. You can see why I didn't bring in this model today, although I am now, but I didn't bring it earlier because it's not relevant to our discussion today for your practice. But it's very relevant for our discussion from next time onwards. And we've got to pull levers on this. And the fifth aspect is basically my ability to read and understand the context in which I'm teaching. So how do I go about reading the teaching context in which I'm working? And what I'm talking about here is, when will I introduce one part of getting knowledge ready with the Year 8 class who doesn't really see the value of it? How much can I bring in at a time? How much scaffolding will I give to do it? Is it appropriate to do it at 9:10 on a Tuesday morning or 3:10 on a Friday afternoon? You know, that's the whole business of being able to read the educational context in which we're doing everything. Again, you know that some of your colleagues will have wonderful ideas. If the teaching actions were done in other situations, they'd be wonderful. But again, they're missing the mark here. If they'd waited 10 minutes, they might have got better outcomes. The reason why I'm putting this up is that this is my model of what I believe my knowledge looks like as a teacher. And for me to try to help my school to change its practice, I may have to look at doing things in each of these areas. Is this okay as a model? Now, we're really going to unpack it next time. And I should have included in today's discussion, but you can see the sorts of how I've tried to identify some of the obstacles that we might be facing. And what we need to be able to do is to be ready for them, to put in place actions that are going to help us maximise this, because this is where we're wanting to end up. And I should say I ran this model past people like in Berlin at the Free University and in Berlin, at Bordeaux, at the Victor University in Bordeaux, in the UK and whatever, and no one actually suggested a better model or said that's crap or whatever. Everyone actually thought it was very good. They thought it was a practical way. The guys in Germany's into lifelong learning, and they're very keen to look at using this as a model for training professionals in any area. So not only in teaching, but in any area. And I'd never thought about it along those lines, but it makes sense you could. It's really a model for using your knowledge as a professional. Because you go into Myer and you want to buy something. The person might know all the good skills in selling, but if their attitude is poor, or if they can't read the situation, if they try and say the same, have a great day to everyone, the person often says, well, let me tell you about my day. Let me just tell you. And 10 or 15 minutes later, here it is. I mean, you'd want to, be a bit discriminating, how you say things. And it's the same thing in teaching. So that's a way of looking at teacher knowledge. And we need to be able to pull levers on all of those if we are going to change what it is that teachers do. So let's get underway with our discussion. I'm going to go through the set of notes. I need to apologise. They've come out in separate parts. What's going to be important are the numbers on the bottom. As well, although we're a large group, I think a lot of you know me well enough to, if there are any issues that you want to discuss further, please don't hesitate to raise them. This really is a workshop looking at how we can best implement the teaching in our schools. And one of the people who I met with David Hopkins in London, and we discussed some of the conceptual aspects of the work we're doing here further and how we're going to take it further. And the sort of models that we're trying to put in place for helping schools change their practice, there aren't precedents around the world. I mean, we're basically out there leading, in terms of what we're doing. So there is no textbook. The ideas, as I've said to you before, are not set in concrete, so don't hesitate to raise any